Okay, so what I want to do today is show you the homemade wing mount that I've made for the GoPro. It's made from basically 6-inch drain pipe. I've made this one quite small, but the one that's the optimal size is actually 6 inches wide. Gives you a little bit more grip. It's actually really simple to make. You know, it's a piece of drain pipe. It's a GoPro mount that I've actually glued on, and I've also, just for security, put a bolt through it just to make sure that doesn't come off. And then you can obviously use the GoPro fixings to get the mounting you want. This is just sort of belt and braces just to make sure it doesn't pull off. Yeah, it's all right. It does the job. It's nice and light. The further out on the wing you have it, the more sort of leverage it's got, the more it's going to pull. So I wanted it quite light. What you can do is you can actually put like one on the other side or on here. You can put mountings where you want. You know, if you wanted it sort of on that side of the wing, but if you turned it over, you could have it on that side of the wing. But you know, that's your prerogative. You can do what you want with it. But so basically, I'm just going to take you through what I did. This part here is made from the bit that you take out. Obviously, you know, if it's quite flexible, the idea is when you pump the wing up, it pushes and that gives it its grip. I've used this stick-on foam to give it a little bit of padding. You can use EVA foam and glue, but yeah, just it's pretty easy. So let's go through how it's made. So as I said, it's just standard 6-inch drain pipe. The ideal one is going to be a 6-inch length. So I mean, there's nothing really sort of too complex about it. You cut a bit out and then you glue bits on. But I just use a wood saw to cut this, and that seems to go through it quite well. Obviously, it helps if you've got a vise. If you haven't, then you can use, you know, the edge of a step just to cut it. But this is what I tend to do. So you can see you've got enough for that small length of drain pipe, which cost me about £6. So you've got enough to do sort of 6 or 7 of these if you wanted to. So let's clean it up. Right, so there's your 6-inch wide piece. So the next thing we need to do is split it. So I'm going to take out about a 2-inch part. Okay, so what you end up now is a piece of it missing. That's your clamp, and then you get this piece here which you want to keep. So once again, let's clear it all up. So you end up with this piece here, which obviously has come out of there. So while you've got it like this, good idea to sand it up, get it nice and rough on that side, because you're going to glue this, so you want something to key to. And obviously once you've decided where you're going to put it on there, you do the same with that. So as you can see, there's a lot of static on this. So what it does is it tends to just collect all of the dust. So it's worth, once you've got to the point where you're going to start gluing, that you can actually give this a good wash, like with dish soap, just so that you get rid of all the grease and the static, so you don't attract too much of the dust. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually put this on. So you need a GoPro mount. Even if you get a rounded one, they tend to round that way rather than this way. So it's not going to be a flush fit, but you basically have to mix up some epoxy to glue that on. But you know, it's fine, it's probably going to work, but I'm just want to make sure I've got a nut and a bolt to actually physically secure it. Okay, so I've got one of these, which is just a standard mount. Basically, once you've glued it on, you're not really going to be able to take this on and off, but that doesn't really matter. So as you can see, once you've got it, it's not really flush, it's not circular, but at the end of the day, I'm going to rough this up and I'm going to glue it on. And then once it's glued on, I am going to drill through, and I am going to put a little nut and bolt through, which I will cut the nut and bolt so that it doesn't go through too far. And then that is what I will then glue onto, well, sorry, I will glue this on, and then once I've glued it on, I will then drill through and then just double secure it. So that's basically where that's going to go, because you can imagine this is where your wing, like lightweight material, will be. This is on the bladder, so that will be there like that. So you just got to decide where you want it. Do you want it so that it's inside the wing? Do you want it on the edge of the wing? So it's down to you to do it. Nothing to stop you putting one there and also putting one there, so you can always have two if you want to. It doesn't add a huge amount of weight. So the other thing I want to do as well is I want to round off these corners. Just, you know, you don't want them digging into your wing, so I'm just going to round those off as well. So again, tedious job, but this is actually quite soft. This is actually quite soft plastic, so it doesn't take that long. You know, you just get on with it. I reckon really from start to finish on this, including laying up the glue, is just over an hour. Obviously you want to make sure the glue's gone off for, you know, a good 24 hours before you're using it, but you can actually get the thing finished. So I'm going to carry on with sanding this and I'll be back. Okay, so what I've done is I've rounded off the edges, just quick for this demonstration, but what I've also done is I've actually also rounded out these areas on the top. My theory behind this is that when you put this on the wing and the wing actually then expands, it will clamp this, but then also the wing will also come up slightly here, and what this should do is stop it moving side to side a little bit more. If you just had a straight bit like that, it could actually move. I mean, it may help, I don't know, but it's worth a try. I had it on that one when it was completely straight and it did actually move side to side a little bit, so I'm just thinking that way might help it a little bit more. So again, just going to sand these edges off, just make sure they're nice and smooth, and then we'll get on with mounting this. Right, so that's all now sanded smooth, and what I've also done is I've sanded the inside, made it nice and rough, because I am going to be sticking stuff to the inside, so I want that nice and keyed so that the glue will attach to it as well. So basically that's that part done. So it's down to attaching this to that. So we need to mix up some epoxy to get that sorted. Right, so I've washed this, I've given it a good sand off, and I've washed it to make sure there's no grease on it, and I've also done the same with that as well. So I'm just going to give that another quick sand, and then we're just going to mix up. I tend to use the tubes of epoxy. It's easy and it's cheap. Usually no wastage either. If you buy epoxy resin that you have to mix up, you have to measure it all out, but this is actually pretty good. It's pretty easy. So really all we're going to do is stick this on, and once that's gone off, we are then going to just stick that all onto here, and then once that's done, we're also going to drill through and put a securing bolt on it. Okay, so one of the things I found was useful is I tend to mix in a little bit of this epoxy filler, like sort of these little sort of balls that, and what that does is it thickens up the glue, and it stops it running around. Basically, it just turns it into sort of a really thick epoxy glue. And I've actually put a little bit too much of this stuff in, so I'm going to mix a little bit more up. But you find that when you put it in where the mount wants to go, it all runs out, so you actually don't end up with that much in the joint. So it just gives it a little bit more viscosity, so that you can actually place it and then stick it on. So let's get that on there now. You can see now where that's quite thick, that's just basically squeezed down into it, and it's not running out. If you don't put the thickener in it, then it tends to just run out, so you end up with not a lot in there. Like I say, that's why I'm also going to put the nut and the bolt through, just to make sure, but it just gets it going. And then what I'm going to do is, once this is drying off, I'm going to just smear a little bit more in, just try and get a bit more through. But that's got that gluing up quite nicely. Okay, so there we go, that's all glued on, and I've also put it into the joint of where this goes into that little mount, because I want to make sure that's also nice and secure. That's going off quite nicely now, so that's ready to dry off. And what I'll do now is I'll clean that up once it's dry, and then I'll stick this to there, and then we'll put the bolt through, and then we're almost done. Okay, so that's all now glued on. So what we're going to do now is put a hole through here, just so that we can get our bolt through. So what I've done is I've used a stainless steel bolt, but I've also sanded it down or filed it down, so it's a lot thinner. It's about half of what it is, because I don't want it sticking too far in. And what I'll do as well is, when I put the padding in, that will sit below the padding, so that won't be touching the wing. But I'll also put a piece of protective rubber over the top of it as well, just so that it doesn't rub on the wing. So what I need to do now is get that through there. Okay, so we've got the screw to go through now, so what I need to do is just mark, I don't want loads of it sticking out, so let's just mark a piece of the thread there, there we go, and then let's cut that off. So you can see there, that will hold that on quite nicely. So what I'm actually going to do is put some super glue on that to liquid thread lock it, and that will hold that on nice and secure. Alright, so there you can see we've now bolted through, so that's now secure and that's glued on there. So it's got reinforcement this way and it's got a security bolt. I've actually epoxied the bolt together on there, and I've put a little bit of epoxy on the top just to make it through. Like you say, that's minimal amount of that's sticking up. I've rounded all the edges off, it's nice and smooth, so when I put my padding in, that will be below where the padding is, and I'm also going to put a big blob of liquidized rubber over the top of that to help as well. So that's basically done. So all I need to do now is just clean it up and then get the padding on. So, and there you go. Is to put on this this padding. It's a neoprene foam. It's there to give it a bit of squeeze, so that when you actually do put it on, it squeezes and gives it a little bit more to grip. Plus also, because it's neoprene, it's a little bit like deck pads, so it's a bit non-slip. Plus also, I wanted it to build up so that it's beyond a little bit, so it holds the plastic away from this screw. I have covered it over, but it's just an extra sort of precaution. So I've already done the ones that go round, and I've put one on the edge here. So the stuff that I use is actually an expanded neoprene adhesive backed. I guess it's for draft excluding or something like that, but it's quite sticky stuff. Basically it's an expanded neoprene, and then you've got this backing at the back of it. If you want to be sort of belt and braces with it, you can put a bit of like contact adhesive on first of all, just to make sure it's super sticky. I've used this one a lot, and the only one that's come off is this one, and that's where I was sort of pulled it off one day and it peeled, and then I left it and got water under it. So if you just check it every sort of time you go out, and then you do it, but it sticks on pretty well. So yeah, pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, it's do what you got to do. Get it stuck on, and then it's pretty easy to just trim off with a craft knife, a scalpel, Stanley knife type thing, just to get it so that it fits nicely. And there we go, that is ready to go on the wing. Obviously you can put these on to go that way, or you can just put it on the one if you want to. You can get these ones that have actually got a swivel joint, so you could move it around as you wanted to. It's totally down to you. But that's basically ready to go. So you could get that on one of the back parts of your wing, which gets it down by the tip, which gives you a really nice view. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so I want to make a couple of floaties, so I'm waiting for them to turn up, but they're taking forever. So I've used some EVA foam and cut it up into sort of equal rectangles, used some contact adhesive and glued them all together to make two floaties, and then I'm going to wrap them in a yellow tape, which, you know, they're just there as an emergency, which will then bind them together, and then I'll attach them to the mount itself. So I wanted to try and get a couple of the GoPro floaties, the orange foam blocks, but they've not turned up, so I've made a couple of homemade ones. So there they are. There's the EVA foam ones. They're wrapped up in like a plastic warning tape, so it's like a sort of insulation tape. It's just a sort of for the moment a quick fix, and it's been glued on, and I've also taped it as well. But that will just ensure that if it does fall off, it will float in the water like that. Good chance of seeing it. Painted the whole mount yellow, so if I was in the shallower water, I'd be able to see it. And obviously, if the tide goes out, then there's a good chance I'm going to spot that as well.